into the main program. It's like you want to add more modules. You don't do all the coding in just one file. You can have different files and via require or include ones, you can add more code. Since in this case it's PHP code, anything that we add into that specific line, if it is PHP code, is gonna be executed. That's the reason that if we are able to inject PHP code into MySQL log file and then add it here, it's going to be executed wherever we are putting inside that file. So that's a little bit more clear now, and that's the reason we are putting here PHP system. We are ready. We set forward, and then we go to WordPress, and WordPress is saying the user field is empty. Let's check the content of our log file again. Tail. You can see that nothing was added, and so that we can save some time, obviously the reason is because WordPress is not allowing us to inject those kind of weird strings in the username. So let's try to do the same but in the password. Probably the password is gonna help us, right? So we go to the password here and we do the same. Paste, and here I'm gonna put something like just to see if it was injected, and then we just say forward. We go to our page and it says again invalid username. Let's check the content. We see that now the blah blah was inserted but not the password. That confirms what I was explaining. WordPress is helping indirectly the file inclusion because it's not allowing us to inject our malicious code. So that's all, guys. That's the lab. Hopefully in the next time we can bypass it. No, I'm just kidding. So let's try to bypass it. By the way, probably this is a new vulnerability I have not reported to WordPress, but it's interesting. In the lost your password, okay? So we move there and just quickly forward this, and here, guys, it's saying give me the username or password. We come here again and we put our injection. Why I'm putting again the same thing? Because we are in a different section, which might be different code, which might be different security controls. It's very common that the developers implement security controls in one page but not in others. So we are going to stress this. So we do get, and then it's intercepted, and let me just put it so that you guys can understand it. So it is sending the user login, which is going to be reset because we forgot the password, and we just set it. We send it again. We go to our MySQL log, and you can see that now there is not even anything in the login. That means the same security control that we saw in the login page is implemented in the forgot password, which is good. Excellent for WordPress. But let's keep playing, guys. Now, what if it says invalid username or email, right? Let's try to put an email here. Oh, well, like a looking email. So we can put a format like this, Danux at our injection, and then .com, right? I mean, as you can see, this is our fake domain, which obviously it should not be accepted because it has special characters which are not allowed in a domain. But let's see what happens. We say forward, and look at that. It says error. There is no user registered with that email address. That means it thought WordPress thought this was a valid email address. Let's check our MySQL and look at that, guys. We have injected our PHP code, but there is a problem here. It escaped our double quotes. So let's try to see if we can reach our server here, and I'm just gonna remove the intercept. So if we come here again, we run it, we can see that there is a syntax error, guys, and the reason is the double quotes. That means that even if we put here the cmd, which is the command being expected, it's not gonna do anything. The reason, as I said, is because the double quotes were escaped, and that's the reason we are not able to execute it. What we can do is, and thanks to PHP, I love it, we can remove the cmd, guys. We can do this, and you know what? It's gonna be executed. Let's try it. So we do it. It says again, invalid, no user registered with that email address. And if we try to print the tail of this file, guys, we can see that we are almost ready to go with our injection. Okay, so let's just get a remote shell. So we do our MySQL cmd, which is the expected parameter, and we just do a ls. Oops, wait a second, guys. We are getting exactly the same error. So let's check here what's going on. If we do a MySQL and we do a grep on cmd, you can see that we have our first injection, which has the escaped double quotes, which is causing the syntax error, and after that we have our right injection. But what happened here, guys? The reason that we inject a PHP code which has a syntax error is spoiling our whole pounding attempt. As soon as it detects this syntax error here, it's not going to execute the next one. What this is telling us is sometimes we have a one-shot scenario, guys. Like in this case, we spoil it. Our really great option is gone, because now we need to wait for the MySQL log file to be full in order to be replaced, or that the administrator clean it, or any other thing that removes the content. That might happen in 3 months or never. So at this stage we are devastated because we made a mistake. Obviously I did it intentionally, guys, so that you know that these kind of scenarios, your first shot must be successful. In other words, you should know that the double quote, the single quotes might be escaped, and you should avoid it from the beginning. As you see, we don't need it in the cmd parameter. So let's assume that we know this, and I'm just going to clean out the MySQL log file so that we can do it again. Okay, so let's then go, and we're going to reinject our injection with without double quotes. We inject it, and let me just quickly remove the proxy because it's kind of slowing down my response. Okay, we remove the proxy and we just injected it. So if we come here and check the tail again, we can see that our tail the whole content is good, and guys, we only have our CMD. So if we do a grep again, because we reset it, as you remember, we only have one CMD, and it is the right one. It is saying receive a CMD get parameter, pass it to system to be executed, and let's see if that works now. Let's do something like cat etc pass wd. Look at that, guys. And I love this. It says use of undefined constant CMD, assumed CMD, which means you guys didn't put double quotes. I don't care. I'm a friend of you, and I'm gonna process it for you. And then we got our execution, guys. We bypassed WordPress input validation, pretty simple as you saw, and now we are injecting our own PHP code, and from here is game over 99% of the time. I mean, you need to deal with networking things now. The typical scenario here, guys, is, as you know, I have a box here, attacker box, which has this 130 IP address in the same segment, and then I just do my netcat listen. Oh my god, listen on port 80. I'm gonna wait for the shell there, and here I'm gonna, if config, I'm just gonna connect, since it is in the same network, I'm just gonna say okay, netcat IP 130 port 80, send him my web server shell. We can see it is connecting. That means we are in